And another place that Vince McMahon is losing power, Bill Simmons, I think of ESPN or formerly of ESPN. They've been trying to make this Vince McMahon documentary on Netflix, and Netflix went away because of two reasons. One, the sexual conduct stuff, you know,
Yeah.
and the second one is Vince is famously known for lying. Like he was gonna do a documentary on the steroid trial, and he wrote like a paragraph, and like six of them were lies. Like he had six
Nice.
lies inside the paragraph. So Bill Simmons on Vince McMahon having no say over final cut for upcoming Vince McMahon documentary. To me, he gets to look at clips, but he does not get notes on the final part. We have Vince McMahon documentary that we've been working on for 3 years. I think it has a chance to be really great. I think it has a chance to be the best one I've been involved with. It'll be interesting to see what people think about that one. It was a lot of time and one where Netflix has Final Cut and it's a little more old school than 30 for 30 model was. I think there's a chance to be really special. Here's the thing.
For how much of his life has been documented, if they have access to all the footage they can get, depending on how long they've been following him too and how actively, uh, this could be the longest documentary. It could be a fucking mini series. Like this
It's be like
documentary
the
could be
Chicago
years.
Bulls, the Chicago Bulls ESPN documentary.
Dude, it's massive. Like even if you avoid allegations and stuff, you have so much content there to go through. And if you start going into the allegations that are over the years that have been associated with him and the scandals of the WWE that he has basically personally handled, it gets even worse. Like you have, like off the top of my head,
Snuka. Oh
Snuka,
man,
Benoit,
yeah.
um, um,
Steroid trial.
oh god, yeah, steroid trial. There's just the whole flight thing
Owen,
from
Flight from
Saudi
Hell.
Arabia, flight from hell. Like the list is massive, and then you have the crazy stories that you get about him. If like even a third of these are videoed and documented to where they can use them, or
Yeah.
or they have more than just him able to like verify and talk about him, then I think that alone is an insane amount of content for a documentary because like just zany shitty. You have who was the wrestler that he fought on an airplane because he said something to the wrestler and someone else told the wrestler that you had to fight him or he wouldn't respect you, and it was true. Was it Kofi Kingston?
It might have been. I have no idea. There's been a couple examples of that and him
Yeah,
taking moves. And not a Bret Hart. And a lot of these things, these side adventures, could be documentaries on their own.
yeah,
Like his little side adventures could be that. And here's the thing, even if Vince McMahon does have a final say, saying this makes it interesting because before I read this headline, I had no interest in watching it. If Vince McMahon was going to tell the story, I had no interest.
yeah.
And as far as everyone liking it or not liking it, I think it's because he's so good at propaganda, so good at marketing, that he's one of those powerful people that no matter how long the list of horrible things he's done, people will be like, not our guy. He gave us our childhood.
He's
So,
in an odd place because is similar to Trump in where he at the peak of his celebrity, while being a man who's viewed as wealthy or successful in business, financially super well off,
yeah.
he is also, even if he's in that tax bracket, he is also kind of like the exception from how they're treated because he's a mega celebrity at the same time.
Yeah, and but he has
Like he was a personality for the company during its greatest era and rivaled their greatest stars. Like it's hard to take that out.
and there's a lot of losers in society that feel his success is their success, and there's also like you get to pretend to be him. Like how many times do you go to indie event and the guy who's in charge of the indie event acts like Vince McMahon? How often do you meet a person in business that has no idea how fucking business works, but they act like Vince McMahon? He's almost like a power fantasy for loser dudes. I mean, I've probably met thousands of people that hate Vince McMahon and act exactly like Vince McMahon. So it's
I've not met a lot of Vince McMahon impersonators.
oh, dude, you got to go to indies. If you go look, entertainment, pro wrestling, sports, because they all think that's how it is. It's like if you have the dumbest human being on planet Earth and you place them in a meeting, they're like, "Well, I'll be like Vince." Like people think that's how business is done, especially in the pro wrestling business, especially in entertainment business, especially it's just they have no experience in real business, and they're like, "That's exactly how it is." Yeah, and yeah, so I've met too many like because like here's the thing, especially when you have a successful business in wrestling or in sports, someone comes by and be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be just like Vince McMahon and take us to the top." It's like, all right, you're gonna be the Vince McMahon that bought the company from his father and made smart decisions like WrestleMania and took a
So
risk
you're
about
saying we
taking
got to
over.
watch out for Tony Khan's son when he has one.
Possibility. I honestly think Tony Khan and Vince McMahon are the same person, just Vince puts on an act. I honestly think they're the same person.
I think if this documentary is being honest, if even a third of the stories we've heard are true, it's going to be mind blowing for people who aren't like smarks.
Yeah.
I desperately hope they have the ketchup burrito freaking out or sneeze freaking out shit. Where like if they don't get his lunch right or if they sneeze. I hope one of those freakouts is in there.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the same thing. Well, I mean, what's his name in business was the same way too. Shit, who's the guy that died in Apple? Steve Jobs.
Bill Gates?
No,
Oh no,
I
that's
think Bill
Bill
Gates is
Gates
still
is
alive
alive
and
and
he's
he's
Microsoft.
Windows. Yeah, I don't know.
But Steve Jobs has this reputation, but like they just focus on like a few of his outbursts. He wasn't that way
Yeah.
like all the time. You know what I mean? Like it's I don't know. It's just kind of crazy.
My
So
question is so to me, it's one of those things where if I find out it's like an hour, I'm gonna be like, all right, I'll watch it, but I this is gonna be like very mediocre because an hour is not gonna be enough to cover Vince McMahon. I don't think that is
yeah,
one fucking wild story to cover in an hour. I feel like it's got to be like a 5, 6 episode series.
I agree. And all that, but like an hour will either be a hit piece or it'll be a fluff piece. There won't be any actual good content in it if
Yeah,
it's only an hour. It's either
but
going to be he's horrible, he's horrible, he's horrible, he's horrible, or he's great, he's great, he's great, and you're not going to get the truth in an hour.
I think you split it up into like 5 or 6. You do one that focuses on his like his earlier life, the territories, that era. Um,
I mean,
then
you
you
could do a
have
whole
one
chapter on WrestleMania.
that's true, but then I don't think they would ever do that. That would be better left to like WWE, you know,
Yeah.
because if it's that intense, I think then you do another one on like the whole of the once WWE started all the way up until like the modern era, basically, not not current day, but like I'd say until the end of the Attitude Era. Just kind of condense that into one, just because it's more about him. It's not about the WWE
Yeah.
during that time. So like I would say that's a good period to cover for him again.
Well, also the,
And
the
then
steroid trial
oh yeah, yeah.
with
Well, I would
Hogan.
save that. I would mention it and then I'd come back to it. And then I'd do another episode where it's the basically from the end of the Attitude Era up until modern day in wrestling to when he leaves wrestling in TKO. I
Yeah.
think or when he steps back, I think that would be a great close to that part because you've told his story in wrestling then. And then after that, I would have one that's his failures, and that would be the one where I talk about the steroid trial, the XFL, the workout
Yeah. World Body Federation
competition.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I would talk about those things because you've already spent three. At that point, you spent three basically telling like the good things about him, and then you tell where he's failed, and then I would say you tell the scandals, and the scandals I'd do like a weird one episode, or like the ugly or whatever, and you start off with like silly shit like him flipping out over sneezing and stuff, and then you go into like Snuka, all that, and I think that's where you close it with.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like the YouTube format. Start with the positive and then go towards the negative.
I think that's the best way to do it, because you start with the positive so that people who are more interested in the person but are less receptive toward negative criticism of the person because of idolism,
Yeah,
those people are more likely to become so engaged at that point and enthralled that they then continue forward into the bad.
yeah.
At least that's my logic
No,
on
no,
it.
no. It does make sense. I would sprinkle it in, but your way makes way more sense for the YouTube audience. Like YouTube all the time is like start with the positive and never mention the negative or put it way in the back of the video. So, but yeah,
I think it'll be fascinating though if they give it at least, if it has at least 2 to 3 hours of runtime. I think it'll be fascinating.
I don't know if I said this already, but I want to end on this. Bill Simmons bringing this out made this a billion times more interesting.
Yeah.
Without this
Yeah,
headline, I don't watch it. Without if
I
Vince
agree.
has cutting or they don't mention it, if they don't make it clear that Vince doesn't have complete power over this, it's not worth watching. We have the WWE Network. But him saying, "Oh, he doesn't have power," makes it a lot more interesting.
In fact, if you can get him to come out and make a statement against it, complaining that he didn't have any say, I would put that on the cover.
Yeah, Vince like, "This is a bunch of bullshit." Like, put it in.
I had no final say on this. This isn't what I approved. Put that on the cover, guys.
You know he's making his own. If this makes him look bad, he's making his own documentary the second the credits roll.
Oh yeah,
The second the credits roll, he's like,
Vince McMahon's a story of Vince McMahon. It's gonna be like suddenly Triple H is walking around the house, and Stephanie's like, "Paul, have you heard from my dad lately?" He's gonna be like, "Actually, no, not all week."
It's weird because he
Is
always
he
tells me
dead?
storylines. Yeah.
We should check on him. And they go over there, and he's just fucking got a typewriter, and he's just going to town writing his manuscript, and there's pages everywhere, and he's been working on his own biography, his own documentary.
And the best part of it all is that I could see it. Like, remember when Mr. Burns made his own video about his life? That's how it
Yeah.
will be. That's how it will be.
Oh yeah, I imagine him playing himself and reshooting segments.
And
Be like,
even the young version, he'd still him.
yeah, that's what I mean. Is he's going back and like it's supposed to be behind the scenes like it's labeled behind the scenes footage WrestleMania 1, and it's clearly him dressed up as him then. I mean, like being like the most positive guy ever to wrestlers before they go out there for their match and stuff like that. And he's got like cosplayers dressed as Hulk Hogan and stuff.
He's like this super positive. Who's that one soccer coach TV show that's on like Apple or Amazon or something? Blasso? Fuck.
I don't know.
There's this soccer coach that's like insanely positive. That's how Vince is gonna paint his picture.
Oh, Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. He's gonna paint it like Mr. Burns meets Ted Lasso. That's gonna be him. Mr. Burns meets Ted Lasso. And not Mr. Burns like who Mr. Burns is, how Mr. Burns envisions himself.
And he's gonna touch on the scandals, but only so that he can counterpoint them. Like he's gonna be like the way he'll touch on the Chris Benoit thing is he'll be getting ready at the pay-per-view, and it'll be clearly him dressed up as back then, and then he'll have Triple H walk over and be like, "Hey, I just got some bad news," because Triple H is a terrible actor, mind you. So it's gonna be
Have
bad.
you seen him in that one fucking
the Chaperone?
The Chaperone.
Yeah, it's awful. I've seen all of his movies, and they're all bad. I
Wasn't he
honestly,
in Blade?
Yeah, and he was terrible in Blade. He hated Chihuahuas, I think, or something on it. I don't remember. God, he was awful. He's not a good actor. I'm sorry, Triple H, you suck. Great wrestler, good booker, bad actor.
Maybe he has to go
But
to
yeah,
Hollywood. Prove
I
you wrong.
imagine Triple H is gonna come over and just be like, "I got some bad news," and then hand him like a note, and then Vince is gonna be like, "No," and then they're gonna cut to like a little like just text over like Vince found out that Chris Benoit blah blah blah, but Vince going forward made changes to fix this.
I think
And he's not gonna mention that they did a tribute episode the next day.
no. Like, he'll be like, as soon as I heard they were in trouble, I started running towards the house. I couldn't make it in time. No, not all that, but he could Eric Bischoff this. Please do yourself a favor. Read Eric Bischoff's book. It's fucking hilariously bad.
Actually,
But
oh my god.
no, I say he hires Eric Bischoff and he Eric Bischoffs this. He's like, and then my dad begged me to take over the company. Then the other territory said, please, Vince, save us.
No, I just realized he can win this easily if he decides to do his own counter one and make it a puff piece. He could easily crush. All he has to do is wait. TKO is going to start cutting those Legends deals for a lot of those Legends, I think. I don't think all the Legends are going to keep their Legend deals. All Vince has to do is swoop in and be like, I always took care of you, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then pay them to be in his documentary about him and make it a huge puff piece. And since it'll be full of like wrestlers, like basically sitting there and being like, oh yeah, Vince was a great guy, and talking up these bullshit stories that Vince has fabricated for them to go with, it would go. People would buy it 100%.
And you know who would be number one right there,
Hulk
sitting on that
Hogan.
couch? Hulk Hogan. Hulk
It was who I
Hogan
was
and John Cena.
in my head, and I didn't want to say it, but in my head, I was picturing Hulk Hogan the whole time.
Hulk
It
Hogan
won't
and
be
John
John
Cena
Cena,
would be
I
the
don't think.
first one there. It'd be like, dang.
It won't be John Cena, I don't think.
Oh, well, definitely John Cena.
Not yet.
I think
Not yet.
I guarantee. When he was in trouble, he still took his spot.
That's true. He won't. That's true. Because what are they going to do? Cut off John Cena?
Yeah.
Be like, we're not selling any of your merch and giving you the money.
Nope.
He's like, all right. So
John
you're
will
not
be
selling
on the
John
couch
Cena merch?
and be like, he saved my life. He's such a great guy.
I was a drug addict. I weighed 97 pounds. You ever see that movie, Captain America? I was like that guy. And Vince found me and he said, I see something in you, kid. And he took me off the streets. That's why I used to do the rapping, the thugonomics. And Vince educated me. He brought me back.
And it's like, I say never give up because he never gave up on me.
He used to breastfeed me HGH breast milk that he made himself.
And Hulk Hogan would be like, when me and Noki were in Metallica, that's when Vince discovered us.
Yeah, brother, we were playing a road show with Metallica, about to record our first big CD, when Vince saw us on stage and said, brother, I've got another idea for you. And I was like, what do you think? Should we do it? And hell yes, we did it, brother. Sadly, we'll never know if Metallica would have been the same with us. But
I mean, with Hogan and Inoki and Vince, Metallica could have shot to the moon.
Also, I think Hogan's stipulation is he wants to be shot in the camera angle, so it always shows his like below his waist in the camera, and he's gonna sit so that his legs propped up so that you can see his thigh, and he's gonna have his pants stuffed like with an eggplant that goes out to his knee, and he's just gonna be like, "Yeah,
take
brother,
that, Gawker."
Vince has always been great to me," and he's never gonna mention it, but it's always gonna be there.
Listen, Vince, you win me over with your own version of a documentary if you have him dress up as Mr. USA in the documentary.
I'll be honest. If he came out with his own rebuttal puff piece,
That would be amazing.
I would watch that because I'd want to see how fucking wild it gets.
Oh, dude, he would be the hero every fucking time.
Oh, he would be amazing in it. He would be so good.
And
He'd be, in fact, his exit from WWE and TKO and all that would be him like telling Triple H how like he thinks he's ready to take over, and he believes in him, and he's gonna step back
and
because he's got other things he wants to do with his life.
Yeah. And Triple H is played by like a real skinny kid going, but I can't do it without you, Dad.
No, I figure he just has Hulk Hogan wearing like a Triple H wig, and it's just shot so that you can only see the back of Hulk Hogan, and he's just wearing a business suit with a Triple H wig. But if you like look at his hands, you can tell the hot dog color.
Oh man,
And when
there's
he only replies in like one word, "Yeah, brother."
it's a 57 episode spectacular documentary, but 3 of the episodes are just him working out. It's just him working out.
Yeah, it's him and Sheamus doing workouts.
Oh man.